We often get questions about the 3DConnexion devices we use, and about how some of the navigation you see in our videos is achieved. This video is going to focus on the 3DConnexion Space Mouse Enterprise, but similar settings and configurations can be used for the other 3DConnexion devices. To start, go to the 3DConnexion website and download the latest drivers for your device on your operating system. Once installation of the drivers complete, plug in the device and relaunch 3DConnexion Home. Before we jump into Vectorworks and all of its settings, I recommend going through the trainer. This is a quick overview of the device. Once finishing the trainer, we're going to go into the Settings option on the 3DConnexion Home. This is where we'll find the settings and configure the device for Vectorworks. Begin by opening Vectorworks and making it your active program. If we look in the 3DConnexion interface, we should now see Vectorworks listed at the top. By default, it will fill in a lot of these settings for us, but it should be noted that I'm going to go over my preferred settings here. On this first window, we'll find the overall speed option. I find the default speed to be a little too fast. I turn mine down around 25%. We'll now go to the advanced settings. These settings will let you adjust the speed and direction of the different cap movements covered in the trainer. In Vectorworks, we don't use roll, so I generally recommend disabling it. The speed slider takes your overall speed set in the initial window and adjusts it individually for each mapping option. We're now going to look at the buttons. Here, we'll find a list of all of the buttons available. If you look at the Enterprise, you'll find certain buttons share a physical button. Here, button R and button L are sharing the same button. If you press the button quickly, it'll use button R, and if you hold the button down, it'll use button L. You can map each button to a specific command, tool, or function. Most of the default settings are what I would recommend. The main settings here that you'll likely want to customize to your liking and workflow are the button 1 through button 12 options. I'm only going to be covering mapping options that you'll likely use for Vectorworks. In the 3DConnexion manual, you can find additional information on all of these settings and options. I'm going to select button 1. Vectorworks is where you'll find about 50 tools for Vectorworks that have already been programmed to work. For button 1, I'll set the mapping to the 2D polygon tool as an example. For button 2, we'll explore running a macro. To start, we'll go to Vectorworks and locate a tool that we want to map. In this example, I'll map the window tool and locate its shortcut, Shift and D. You can customize your shortcuts through the Vectorworks workspace editor in the case of a tool or command that doesn't have a shortcut applied to it by default. Back in the 3DConnexion interface, click the button 2 menu and choose Macros, New Macro. At the top of this dialog, we'll choose the name of the macro. I normally base these on the name of the tool in Vectorworks that I intend to map it to, so we'll call this one Window Tool. Click where it says, click here to record your macro, and then use the shortcut for the desired tool. After saving the macro, it should apply automatically to that button, but you can always change it in the drop-down menu. Now we'll look at the radio menus. Click on button 3, Radio Menus, New Radio Menu. This has a similar mapping option to the buttons. On the left, we'll give the radio menu a name. We'll set this one up with tools relating to walls. I'll click on the radio menu 1 and assign the wall tool. I'll assign the other 3 buttons for other wall-related tools. We can now go back to the Buttons tab and map button 3 to this newly created radio menu. We'll now open a new Vectorworks file to take a look at these example settings we just set up. In this new file, I'll start by pressing button 1, which will bring up the 2D polygon tool, and we'll create a rectangle. We'll now use button 3 on the Space Navigator to bring up our radio menu of wall tools. Here, we'll use the wall tool to trace the rectangle. We'll now use our button 2 on the Space Navigator to place a few windows into the walls. We can now use the cap on the 3DConnexion device to rotate around the drawing. By default, there's a button in the bottom right of the Enterprise for ISO 1 and then Fit. We can use this to rotate to 3D easily. In an orthogonal perspective, we'll rotate around the origin point of the drawing. While this can work, I generally like to use the perspective projection. For additional information and tips on using the 3DConnexion devices, check out 3DConnexion's website, manual, and YouTube channel.